me. Come on, strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Marketing Momentum. And wait, we have a new name change. And you know why? Because we have a new co-host, Chuck Hester. Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you, Deborah. Welcome. I greatly appreciate you inviting me into the podcast here.
Sure thing. Well, we chatted a while back. We have that interview we did in Social Web Cafe TV interviews. So really hit it off there, and a lot of cool things to talk about. So I'm excited for this opportunity.
Thank you. You too. I am too.
We will miss Charles. We still love Charles Terrence Harper, but he has moved on to other things. So, Charles, we wish you well. And it is now Marketing Momentum with Chuck and Deborah. So you'll see the branding change, too, across all the different networks. And you can still catch us on iHEART Talk Radio. All right. Well, if you don't mind if we just jump in. I'm all excited to talk about these videos.
Yep.
And we're also going on a new format. We're going to have a little shorter. So you've got bite size every week as far as more of a 15-minute type show. And we'll talk about one video instead of three. So people watching or listening won't feel like they have to take in all that information in one sitting.
Good idea.
So our first channel, and this was actually, I'm not familiar with this lady. It was one that Charles had suggested. So it's Michelle MacPhearson. And I pulled up the video, how to use Pinterest for real estate marketing.
I am Michelle MacPhearson, and this is the Michelle MacPhearson Show, the only internet marketing podcast dedicated to answering your burning business questions. Find us and submit your own questions at FromIdeaToEmpire.com. And now for today's episode.
That was great.
You're so good, Chuck. I just love that. That's great.
Wow, it just went by so fast, too.
So what are your initial thoughts? I have some. I'm just curious what yours are.
It took me a while because I was watching the video and it was just basically audio from her podcast. It sounded like she was just recording podcast. And, so obviously the guy was in New Zealand and, he was asking that question. So it was this is the black graphic of here's the question from Bruce. I think it was Bruce, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we get a full up, a money shot basically of her where, head and shoulders, and she talks and, good information, no doubt about that. My issues that I ran into were, presentation. I really had an issue with just watching her, and you with that amazing background that you've got there of the city, and me with my map back here, as far as that goes. At least we spent a little time. But she was in a white outfit against a white background, and believe it or not, that distracted me from the information as far as what I was trying to get. So.
You sound just like Michael. And people listening to the show are used to me referring to my other half as far as, because he's the one that teaches me all the presentation stuff. But the same thing as far as having something that's not distracting. I mean, have a nice background, but don't have something that you're focusing on so much that you're missing what she's saying.
Exactly. And it really was. It was a question from a radio caller is what it sounded like. And then, it was like, those shows that I hate on Fox or wherever they are, where it's, it's the tape of the radio shows, like the old Howard Stern show where I used to watch Howard talk. That's great, but there were no visuals there. I mean, she even had great examples of how to use for real estate, have like four different pictures as opposed to one of the house. Well, she should have done a cutaway to the picture. And none of that was there, and there wasn't even a Pinterest board that you could see necessarily. So if I'm walking in, I'm assuming that people know about Pinterest when they watch her show. But if I don't know about Pinterest, I'm not necessarily understanding. Okay, what do you mean by putting up a picture on a board? That type of thing. So that made a difference for him.
That's a good point. And your assessment is very similar to mine. I was watching it, going, Charles, why did you? No offense to Michelle, Charles, why'd you pick this? Because where's the video? I'm watching his black screen, going, I can't do this. Like I have an ADD or something and I can't last. And then I went forward and it's like, okay. And then all of a sudden it was such a drastic difference as far as the white.
Black to the white. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Right. And she really did sound like she knows what she's talking about, which sounded good. But the format difference between the two, where you're like, okay, so this isn't a video, I'm just listening, and then all of a sudden, whoa, it is a video.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my issues too.
Yeah,
No
I think. And
Michelle, I'm sure she's great at what she does, but luckily she wasn't the person that was talking about how to use YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I do like that there's different thoughts on how long a video should be. And I really want to move, for example, our show to be 15 minutes, so it's more bite-sized. It allows me to do, like you said, as far as a little call out to different, Pinterest boards, show different visuals, because our attention span is changing with all this information.
Yeah, and you don't want to look at me for 15 minutes. There's no doubt about that.
I wouldn't say that. You can say that.
That's the thing. No, my wife says I've got a great face for radio. It all works out.
But, she does have a nice length with it. What is this, 4 minutes and 16 seconds? I think that's just enough. But I would love to see even a splash screen, something at the beginning that says it's her show.
Yes, totally agree with that.
And it was nice that she got down to business, because sometimes the intros can go on forever, and it's like, all right, get to the point. So that part was nice, but maybe just a little more of an intro. And at the very end, it was like, whoa, where'd she go? Are we done? I was looking for...
Yeah. Well, and I was expecting not one question, the answer, and we're done. I was expecting like this was going to be, a series of questions or whatever as far as that goes. And again, I don't want to keep harping on it, but the black background of here's the caller's question. Honestly, I was concerned like you were that that's all we were going to see the whole time, and it was just a recording of a podcast.
I wonder if at that point it's the first video. It's like, do I really want to do this show with Deb? Because if this is what she's picking out.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, I'd like to check out some of her other videos and see, because there's a reason. I know that Charles recommended her, and I want to be fair. There's probably some really great content there. She's got some great things to say, great presentation. But I agree with you that as far as the video end of it, I'd like to see some improvement.
Yeah, agreed.
So, well, that was really quick, but...
What was that? I don't even know. So I don't have a timer?
I don't even think I looked at the clock, because I'm off since we started off. But what would you say, based on watching this video, what tips would you give to the audience? And our audience, small business owners, and what they can do as far as marketing?
Well, the interesting part of 2013 is there is so many tools out there that can make it much easier for you to use video. The olden days, it was a case of get the flip cam out and good luck and put that back up on YouTube. Now, I mean, you can do intros, you can do cutaways and videos and the like. Start with a solid intro, and that's one aspect of it. Introduce yourself and who you are. I'm assuming that this is a series, there's probably like, it's 50 in a series of 100 that she's got up there. I didn't look exactly how many videos she has on YouTube. But the other part of it is you really need to be conscious of your background. You need to be conscious of what you're wearing versus what the background is, and kind of, mix it up a little bit so that you're not just looking at a talking head the whole time. And that's really what it comes down to for me.
Now, do you think, I'm trying to remember her background, I have to pull it back up again, but do you think she's emulating people like, have you ever watched Marie Forleo's videos?
Yes, I have. The background was a built-in bookcase. It was a white built-in bookcase. Mm-hmm. Scary part is that's how, that was the bad impression for me, that I remembered the background because I was so distracted by the background, I was looking to see what it was. As far as that goes. So, and we get this. I've done Google Hangouts as if you had, I'm sure, where, guys are on their couch or, wherever, and they're really not thinking about backgrounds. You don't want to be that photobomb background at the end of the year that Mashable puts up as far as one thing that not to do in a YouTube video. So, again, that's a concern. She's got great information. She presented it well. But if you're going to talk about an online medium like LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter, whatever, do screenshots. It shouldn't just all be you talking. I run into that because the podcast I do for LinkedIn, I'm trying to measure how fast I talk, and you'll slow me down occasionally in this series, I'm sure, because I'm passionate about what I do, and she was very passionate about what she does. But I have to slow down enough that people can take it in and understand it, take notes, and not feel like they have to rewind it to be able to see it again.
That's a good point, because I tend to talk fast. I tend to get really excited, and it's like I'm doing the video editing, and what did I say?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hang on a second. What's the transcript going to look like? I can't remember.
When you were talking about it, I realized that I didn't remember what she actually said. I was paying so much attention to the presentation.
Yes.
I know it was Pinterest and real estate, and I really didn't pay attention to
And it really was. So there were some really good tips in there. There were tips on, if you're a realtor, you're not just going to show the outside of the house. You want to show what renovations have been done, the different rooms that are available, but maybe a split screen of 4 different pictures as opposed to the one stagnant picture that most people show on a realtor site, which is, the front of the house, the curb appeal, as the realtors like to call it. And that's great, but I've seen some great houses on the outside. I have no clue what they look like inside, and that's what she was getting across. And she did get it across.
And Chuck, you brought up as far as different things you can do in YouTube. Now, I like to do post-production. I use Final Cut Pro, all the fancy programs and things. But I played around with what you can do in YouTube. And you can create, it's almost like creating a collage video. And you've probably done this too, where you can create your intro, your outro. You could go use, for instance, Camtasia and do a screen capture Pinterest and have that on a separate video, and then your question, your answer, and put all those pieces together into one video within YouTube.
Does make a big difference. I'm not the most technical guy in the world. I really am not. My favorite expression when I give seminars is, I'm not technical. I don't even know how to spell HTML. But there you go. See, somebody laughs every once in a while. It's a good thing. And you'll get used to it. I've got about 12 jokes that I use on a regular basis for that to make it work. But in any case, there are really simple things to do that even I could possibly use as far as that goes. And you really need to take some time to do that.
I have one thing to add when you said the mashup? I shouldn't say this because I don't want people to pick on the lady that had this, but I was on a hangout and it looked like cat poo on the floor. Yeah. And it was very distracting because the whole time she was talking and she was talking about her role. I'm trying to be really careful not to, her professional role, and I couldn't get to the professional part because I'm like,
because you're so distracted.
You have cat poo. And I don't want to embarrass her to actually turn that in. But then later I met with somebody who was on the same hangout. We were in the same place. And I said, I don't know if it was just me, but it really looked like cat poo. She goes, no, that was cat poo. And I'm like, is that really how you want to be remembered, is the lady with the cat poo?
Yeah, exactly. And you will be, especially on social media these days. That's unfortunate. I wasn't kidding about Mashable. I mean, at the end of the year, they'll put out, the 10 best photobombs that have occurred or whatever. And those things will go viral. I mean, it's really kind of scary. It's not the type of publicity that you necessarily want.
Exactly. Well, thanks, guys, for tuning into this episode of Marketing Momentum with Chuck and Deborah, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Don't you want to kiss and hug me? Come on, strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say if you want to be more than friends. Got some love I'd like to make. Maybe you can squeeze me, I won't break. We could be in a paradise, you and me. Until then, I'll remind you again. Just say when. Oh yeah, until then, I'll remind you again. Just say when. Oh baby, just say when.